Well, yeah, I look better.
Look quite handsome, Bob.
Just look much better. You have to run this for council meeting or is that a run?
No, Isaac does the council meetings. I do urban renewal planning commission and historical.
Oh, okay.
So I have 4 meetings a month. She has 2.
All right.
Big fun.
How do you get on YouTube? I might just want to admit my ignorance.
Well, you can just go, like open your browser, like Google Chrome or whatever, and type in YouTube and a link will pop up and you can just
Oh,
join right
okay.
there.
because I'm not on Facebook or anything of those
Right?
nations.
You don't have to be to look at videos.
Well, right now I've got a not insurmountable. And my technician is aware of it, so he'll be there one of these days. But I got an email problem of some sort. When they said that my email account had been violated and
Uh-oh.
I had to put in a new password. Then they did away without Express, was that Microsoft email system? I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. We use Outlook here.
Well, they gave me Spectrum and
Oh,
it's clumsy. It's just plain clumsy. I bet.
hey, Bob.
I hope we're not the only two that can venture out.
Caitlin, thank you.
I forgot to make her.
I was struggling, I can't remember names very well.
You guys, she's
Someday I'm gonna warm up,
Okay, we'll be kind.
wearing my old ratty clothes just because,
I did too, I'm wearing flip flops.
You look
Yeah.
fine.
yeah, come down here and try to look like I might be something that I'm not. And now nobody here to appreciate it, you know?
I appreciate, Paula appreciates you, Caitlin.
Oh,
Oh, Julie.
Julie,
see
welcome.
You want to have a place?
I think you do.
You can switch to be closer too.
That. Oh, this is beautiful here, Roger. said
Isn't
I
it
think
nice?
I really wanted to see Bob McNary in person. So
Oh, I
here I
know.
am.
Come on, who I don't know if they gave you a nameplate, did they?
Yes, right there.
Good.
I just couldn't read from the back which one it was.
I like this. think that you had other motives other than just some.
Yeah, well, I am sorry, I have a pop-up meeting at 5 o'clock I have to go to.
Ah,
So will it be a short meeting or a long meeting, or do you know?
Well, it's just one discussion item
Yeah,
today, so.
at the Civic.
Slip right along, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry if I have to move out just before.
You're allowed to have a lot.
Okay, well, I'm just a hanger on anyway. I'm not a voting member,
Hey.
right?
We're glad you're here.
Thank
It's
you.
been lonely up here,
Ah.
the two of us.
That Scott, of course, will show up in person. Yeah, you guys know your chairs are adjustable, right? You can raise them or lower them. There's
Am I higher than everyone else?
no, you're fine.
Boom, 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 boom.
That's right.
So
Rise
you
up.
are up
I
there.
am, I am.
Ah, well,
Well, Sam's
Sorry.
very tiny, so I was have to move it up.
I'm kind of long for you.
Bob needs to
Yeah.
elevate his
Short legs,
chair.
long-
well, all you gotta do is pull up, stand up, and pull up, and it'll jump up. And then if you might need a step stool to get into it,
How do you figure out how to get down?
Oh, it'll,
you got it on your side. I haven't got
I
it.
feel something when it's not down.
well, you might be all the way down there.
Oh, there we go, okay.
I just,
All right.
I just dropped.
Do you want to do that low?
No, this is fine.
Okay.
I didn't want to
Now
be,
are we all the same height
I
here?
didn't want to be higher than our chair, our president, that's
That's
right.
right.
You don't
You
have
must
to
look
be
down.
the same height. You're allowed to be visible.
Okay. Okay.
Now, you gonna lower yours too?
Mine's clear down at the bottom now. I dropped myself.
There, now you're up.
Okay.
There. Oh,
I kind of
Thank
like
you
it
for
up
the
here.
water.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Oh, somebody else is coming.
Oh, well, we
Hello,
got Carolyn.
Carolyn.
We're all right.
Oh,
We've got somebody in the audience anyhow. How are you?
Congratulations to you two. I haven't seen you two. Julie and Deb
Oh.
on the board. Oh, good.
A little while.
Well, it's been a while since I've been here too.
I think I'm the newbie. No, I'm not the newest one. There was another new one. I'm not the new kid.
Scott.
Scott, that's right.
Scott, that's it, yeah.
Scott should be our newest. And I mistook him,
You mix him up with another Scott.
yeah, well, we have a Scott Stevens at the city council
Scott
that has a
Randall.
chair.
Right,
With Scott Stevenson.
yeah.
Oh, okay, so you got your Scots.
I got my
But I
Scott.
tell you what, he's never gonna not show up or be late again.
Well, the Scott that is representing the city council is working for the PUD, I believe. I believe he works for PUD, but it seems like he could hide behind a power pole and look at it from his cell phone.
And then it says,
But I won't tell him.
You'll let me in?
Okay, we're gonna start recording.
But we got a little problem. Unless we see a friendly face up here, we don't have a quorum.
Oh.
Well, remember, some of the folks might join via Zoom. So we don't know if we don't, that we don't have a quorum. Yeah, okay.
A quorum will be all right by whatever you want to call it, but they at least got to be on the other end of somewhere. What is going on with, I'll think of that for Forrest, if you become so,
There's some.
I got- we got Scott now.
Is that me up on the screen then?
Yeah, it is, John.
John, oh,
Yeah, I'm doing.
John Lehman.
Oh, you are?
all we got here is we're home,
Okay, we're done.
we're home.
Where's Eric's name?
My name's right there.
Well, I moved my bag, then.
Okay.
I warmed it up for you.
Thanks.
I'm wondering if we should move Julie closer. I know, so lonely over there.
Yeah, I know. But I do have a name tag.
Well, there you go.
You can swap them.
Julie, why don't we swap?
Okay. Okay,
Let's put you over here.
all right.
Say hi.
But maybe Forrest will show up and then
And
what?
if he
And Scott.
does, we'll adjust accordingly.
Thank you. This is,
I don't have calendar for you without it. How come you wasn't open last Saturday?
oh, there's just a lot of volunteer, we need more volunteers. You want to come be a docent?
Not right off the top of my head, but that's all it was, too short to help.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots and lots of cruise ships. We better get on business here.
No.
Well, I think we still have
got one
5 minutes. or so.
Have we? Okay,
We got one more minute
yeah,
Well,
or two.
you've got 3 minutes.
okay. We'll talk about Fort Dalton.
Well, I just wondered, I drove by there with my out of town company and I see a guy shaking the gate and I said, well, it ain't gonna good shake it. 'Cause it's chained and locked.
Well, we have all the cruise ships coming and we have to try to be there for them because
Yeah.
they're providing the money. But our volunteers are stretched so thin. We don't have when Cal was there, we had at least one person there all the time.
Yeah.
Now we have to double staff.
Yeah, Lynn Wilcox.
Yeah, she's been great.
She's fantastic, but we have the same problem with the landmark.
Yeah.
We've lost a couple.
By the way, have you met this young lady yet?
I'm Julie Reynolds.
Oh, my name's Caitlin
Caitlin,
Cooks.
yeah.
I'm the assistant planner
Yes.
with the community development department. So I'm
We
stepping
can do
in.
that before the meeting
She's
starts.
she's our new dawn.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm
I-
filling in and filling some big stilettos. Oh,
She spoke
Yeah.
so highly of you.
So
all
Forrest-
confident.
no.
Forrest is joining.
There
Oh,
it is.
good.
And four.
So we won't see his face.
You'll see his
We
face.
might
There
have
it
to-
is. Smile.
Hi, Forrest.
Hello.
You didn't have any car fare? You couldn't get here without car fare?
My wife has the car. I never have the car.
Man, hey, I walked. I'm older than you.
I'm on the west side of town. That would be quite a walk. And I just got off work. So I'd be like, hoofing it.
History.
Well, we'll give it one more minute there, Paula, and then if you got all your ducks in a row, we've got a quorum, so we'll just get started. I have hopes that this might be a short meeting.
And then I can do the whole thing.
That thing don't have a second in it. That's good. Nice little one. I would have one. Well, I'm gonna say, whoop, get my mic down here, come on. I'm gonna say it's 4 p.m. and it's time for the historic landmarks for the city of the Dells to convene. And we will call our committee, our commission together. And Paula, would you take a roll call so we know who's here?
Bev Eggy,
Here.
Forrest Ercole,
Present.
Eric Gleason,
Here.
Bob McNair.
Mary,
Here?
Julie Reynolds,
Here.
Scott Randall, and Scott Stevenson are absent.
Fine. Oh, behind me. It's time for our pledge of allegiance. And the flag is up here behind us. And we're up and ready, we'll go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America.
and to the republic
For which
For which it
it stands,
stands, one nation,
under
under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty.
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now if I get the sheriff's control. Okay, here we go. I hope you've had an opportunity to review the agenda for this meeting. And have you anything to add to it or questions about what is on the agenda? Now is the time to speak about it. And then other than that, I would like to have a motion for approval of the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll second it.
Yeah.
Tradition.
The motion has been made and seconded to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we got the agenda covered. Now we're gonna go to the approval of the minutes from the April 27th, 2022. And I don't know what Paula had in mind, but she gave me a few extra sheets. But I read them anyhow, just because I'd like to refresh myself. Is there anyone that has any comment on the minutes from the 27th meeting that we had, April 27th? Well, you could get ahead. You could make a motion.
Okay, I move that we accept the minutes from April 27th, 2022.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion to approve the minutes as written for April 27th. And now we're ready for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Don't find anybody. We won't let them in. Okay. We're moving right along. This is the time that we have for anyone, either in cyberspace up there or in here in person, to make a public comment about the historic landmark position in here in the Dells and whatever else is historic that you want to talk about. We get 5 minutes per person, and hopefully nobody's going to say anything. No, that is what I meant. Nobody, we aren't leaving anybody out. Hearing none, we will go down. And Caitlin, this is the moment you've been maybe dreading, but you're the one that comes up with the staff comments at this point.
Well, and I'm ready. So I have some staff comments. So the Pioneer Cemetery, I chatted with the folks who will be conducting that cleanup for that cemetery. It's FLI Landscaping, and they'll be taking care of it before the weekend. So I told them to notify me once the work has been completed, and they said they'd do that. So thanks for bringing that to my attention, Commissioner McNary. Also, so far, we do not have any applications for the next HLC meeting. However, I will be on vacation and not able to attend. So we may need to reschedule either to a later or an earlier date, but I'll be following up via email with you all to let you know. And that concludes staff comments for this meeting.
I personally want to report, how are we coming with the walking tour? Is the walking tour going to have legs this year, or is it going to still be in the planning stage?
You know, I can look into that. I'm not quite sure on the timeline that's established for that, but I can look into that and get that information to you. No.
Paula, is there any way of adjusting her mic for a little more volume? I am.
Will you move that closer, Caitlin?
Oh. Here we go.
I'm very hard of hearing, so if you hear me talking about something that nobody else knows what I'm talking about, that could be me.
Mary?
Yeah.
Speak now, it's you.
Testing.
Oh, yeah. I don't think you would.
I think
I
we'll
don't
be
think
able
you
to.
get anything at all before the mic.
Apologies.
So, thank you. Thank you. Now, I'm gonna call on the commissioners, see if they have something that has happened that they've noticed in the historic line, and since we met last month. Eric, good to see you again.
Thank you. Well, let's see, at the original courthouse, we contacted Dawn because we had some problems with transients camping out on that landing up the upstairs area. And we were worried about fire danger and stuff like that. So we temporarily installed a gate there across at the lower end of the stairs. It's a historic metal fence gate, basically. So it kind of matches, but we'll come up with something better and come through landmark review for that eventually. I think we're gonna have to do some fencing as well. So we'll probably come up with a comprehensive plan for that and get it reviewed.
There's no end to it, is there?
I don't think so, yeah. I think it's just one of those realities of today now.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about it, but then I am glad that you're on top of it. So that's the best I can say is, Commissioner. Bev, did you see anything this week or month?
Well, it's been beautiful weather and I've been on the porch a lot with Mr. Eggy and the Wiener Dogs. And I've noticed a lot of the cruise people coming to see various things, just walking around our town, and Carrie and her horse and carriage and going by almost every day. So it's just feeling like a real happening, cool, historic downtown The Dalles. That's about it. I don't have anything too controversial for you.
Okay, Julie, you're right here. You can,
Yeah, I could say
you can,
something. too.
now you can talk about your museum and recruiting help and all that sort of stuff.
If anyone would like to be a volunteer docent or just a volunteer for Fort Dallas Museum, we would welcome your application. Aside from that, what Eric just mentioned about camping and so forth on property, I was at the Episcopal Church Chapel at Fifth and Union, which is in the landmark, under the Landmarks Commission. And there had been a big beer party up in there, and they left all their stuff and some clothing and whatnot. So we decided all we would do is just note and clean up. But Eric's suggestion about fencing, I guess that's something to consider, but it would have to obviously come through here.
Where was this in that area between the two buildings?
It was actually in, there's the fire escape on the
North
west side.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
It was on the landing at the fires, on the top of the fire escape.
Oh.
There's door, so the wooden landing and all of that, and lots of stuffed out cigarettes and things like that. So it
We'll get
looked
those
like definitely fire hazard, a partially burned blanket and stuff. So
Oh my.
yeah, something we definitely had to get on to pretty quick.
Are you talking now about the original courthouse? or-
Yes, the original courthouse. And then, one other thing, there's going to be an open house at the Wing Hong High Building on First Street on June 26th, Sunday, June 26th, with Oregon Historical Society is going to be there and stuff. So,
How will you publicize that?
well, the Oregon Historical Society is publicizing it. So,
I saw it on Facebook.
oh, okay.
Victor shared it.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Well, Julie, we got something started, but we didn't mean to finish. You're still there if you want to be there. Anyway, how is
that was-
attendance?
How was attendance at the museum?
Yeah.
High because of the cruise ships. When they come around, they drop people off 20, 30, 40 at a time. So with one or only, maybe one or two docents, it's a lot of work for them. They're what's keeping us going right now. So we had to elect to not have the museum open part of the time because it was just wearing people out as far as docents. And we're still looking for, the position has been downgraded from director to, I think it was going to be called a
Coordinator or something.
coordinator, and now it's a head docent.
Yeah.
With the idea that we'll just have someone there who doesn't necessarily have to have historical background or knowledge of museum practice, but can supervise the docents and support them in their work. Is that how you understand it, Eric?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, most of your attendance now is prepaid
Right. Yeah, the cruise ships. Yeah.
from the cruise ship, so you don't really have to take a head count, see who's coming in and who isn't.
Oh,
I think they
They
do
do.
because we
Definitely
charge
count.
by the head,
right.
the cruise ship lines. But,
Yeah.
Yeah. But we don't have to collect money from them.
Right. Also, Chairman Mary, if you would like to stop by, be sure to give a call because somebody can cover that. They know you're coming.
I'm not rare, so we won't need you. I'll find that you're
Okay.
open, but I just wondered because I knew they had to have someone collect money in the old days.
Mhm.
Every time somebody walked in, whoever until the cruise ship. It's an all new ballgame since the cruise ships have come in. I seen something the other day that I thought we ought to talk about, but I didn't write it down, so I'm gonna pass. There's a lot of things I'm passing in my old age.
Chair
So-
McNary, I'm out of order because I should have spoken up or arranged this.
Yeah, I didn't mean to leave you out, Carolyn. Take that mask off so we can hear you maybe, or else you'll have to come up forward and use the mic.
I think that's Alice.
It's Alice.
Oh,
On the
she's on the Zoom.
Oh, pardon me?
Yeah, but, and Paula won't let me leave the office because there's nobody down here except for me. So I got to cover the front counter. So anyway, I'm being facetious. Anyway, I wanted to just let you all know that you may see a run of applications here in the coming months because the Urban Renewal Agency has approved some really great grant programs that will, we hope will be an incentive for redevelopment in downtown and restoration of some of the buildings. So stay tuned. They're pretty generous grants. So we have a commercial grant where it's a matching, it's a 50% grant match for, can award up to $50,000 for commercial uses. The second one is a mixed use project. So if you have residential and commercial uses combined, you can get up to $150,000, 70% funding provided by the agency and 30% provided by the applicant. And then lastly, if for those that are creating new dwelling units in the urban renewal district, we will subsidize the system development charges, which run anywhere from $8,000 to $12,000 per unit. We will subsidize up to $10,000 per unit. So these are all things that are being put in place to ensure that we get some high quality, good development. And we hope will bridge some of the gaps that are present with restoring older buildings. So our board is very excited about this. This has been a long time coming, something that's been on their goal list for a year or so. So I'm excited about it, and I expect you will see more applications as a result.
I have to apologize. I never even looked up. I keep looking at your brother. I even skipped Forrest up there. He might not forgive me. Thank you, Alice. I'm sorry I didn't even think about you people. Forrest, come on, tell us the story. Where have you been?
Well, I was at Disneyland last meeting, so having a great time. But after I got back, it's funny that you mentioned it. I've been trying to use the walking app tour, and Dawn had told me before, if it wasn't working, uninstall it, and it should work again, which it did. But every time now that I want to use the app, I have to uninstall it and reinstall it because it's not working for me. And I don't have an iPhone, so I don't know if it's because I have an Android phone. But this is definitely an issue for the walking app because if anyone's trying to come off the boat and use it and they already had it installed, it's just going to go to a pinwheel, just spinning around loading and never actually give them anything. But other than that, that's all I have was the app, the walking tour app.
Come see it. The chamber here has been a beautiful improvement, advancement, call it whatever you like. Come see it. I think you'll enjoy when you get here. So I try not to forget you now. You might have to be a little boisterous up there to tell me, and I want to say something. So as far as I know at this point, now that I'm looking around, we're about ready to start a public hearing. And did I miss anything else? Okay, we're on schedule then. All right. This is the time for the Dallas Historic Landmark Commission to conduct a public hearing. The public hearing is for application 205-22, the Dallas Main Street Wall Dogs, and it's going to be at 323 East 4th Street. And really the request is approval to paint two different murals. One is on the alley side and one will be on the west parking lot side. So that is what our public hearing is about. And I will go from there. The substantive criteria upon which the Historic Landmark Commission will base its decision in this matter are contained in the city comprehensive plan and the land use and development ordinance. A public hearing is required by law and certain rules apply. First and foremost, you must be recognized by the chair in order to speak and present testimony. When recognized by the chair, please proceed to a microphone and state your name and mailing address for the record. This hearing is required by law to be tape recorded. Generally, the public hearing procedure is as follows. Prior to the public hearing, we're going to determine the qualifications of the commission members and allow some challenges of their qualifications from anyone in the audience. Hearing none, we'll move on down to the next one. I will open the public hearing with a staff report. The purpose of this staff report at this point is to further identify the applicable criteria of the case that is being considered and provide background information about the case. After the staff report, we will hear from the proponent, those persons in favor of the application. Next, there will be testimony from the opponents, those not in favor of the application. And next, there will be testimony for anyone who wishes to testify or ask questions. Then, to honor the right of rebuttal, we will again hear from those in favor of the application. To speed the hearing, the commission members may ask questions of the persons as they testify. When this process has been concluded, we will close the public testimony portion of the hearing. During the hearing, some important standards apply. First of all, those who testify must hold their testimony to the decision criteria as it is in all land use hearings. There are a couple sets of rules, procedures, and follow criteria we must follow. Second, failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the commission members and the parties an opportunity to respond to that issue precludes an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. Third, the failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues related to proposed conditions of approval with detail specific enough to allow the city to respond to this issue includes action or damages in the circuit court. Prior to the conclusions of the public hearing, all participants may request an opportunity to present additional evidence, arguments, or testimony regarding the application. If such a request is made, the law states that the commission shall grant the request by either continuing the hearing to a time and date at least 7 days from the date of the initial hearing, or the record must be kept open for at least 7 days. Those are the rules. Do you have any questions so far? Hearing none, I gotta ask a question. You're gonna ask a question.
Oh,
That word is always tongue twisting to me.
ex parte,
All right.
ex parte.
Ask the members of the commission if they had ex parte contact or conflict of interest or bias, which would not allow them to render an impartial decision on this matter. Now,
I have none.
I almost forgot Forrest again. He's up there. Forrest.
My grandmother does work at the civic there, or the civic auditorium, but I don't think it would be a conflict for me.
Okay, I'll go for that. We've already asked if anybody wanted to worry about our qualifications, but they all would do, but we won't answer that. The public hearing is now open, and we have the staff report, and I'm sure it's gonna be much better now that you got the mic going.
Right.
For my sake only, getting in the lick before Well, Dawn was already here. She already had her habits established, and I couldn't change them. Don't talk too fast.
Okay, I'll try to talk slowly and clearly if I can get this screen to work. And lo and behold, here we are. All right. So thank you, Chair McNary. So we're here today to look at the Historic Landmarks application number 205-22 for the Dalles Main Street and Wall Dogs. This will be the last Historic Landmarks application that they'll have for the murals that will be part of the Mural Fest downtown. The address is 323 East 4th Street, and you all know this building as the Civic, which is classified as on the National Register of Historic Places in the Dalles Commercial Historic District. So as you can see, the Civic is located on 4th and Federal Street. The existing conditions looks, very similar to how it did in 1922, which you can see from this photo. The building was built in 1921. So you can see the existing conditions. This is the alley facing wall on the north side of the building. This is where a proposed mural is proposed. And then the west building is on a parking lot. And this is the other face of the building. It's 50 by 50. The proposed themes for these murals is the Honnold Sign Company, and that's Barney and Gary Honnold, and Native First Foods. There is no final design that has been approved for this, which is typical for Wall Dog murals. They are still working on that final design, but these are the themes that they have landed on and the community has voted on. So I'm going to dive into the findings of the staff report. There are no plans for modifications to the building physically with this application. So the first criterion does not apply. The historic character of the property shall be retained and preserved. So staff found that the proposed murals will not remove any existing historic elements on the building. And we are putting notes that care needs to be taken when they are creating these big, beautiful murals on this building. So the criterion was going to be addressed as a condition of approval. And part of our criterion is so each property shall be recognized as a physical record of its time, place, and use. Changes that create a false sense of historical development, such as adding features or architectural elements, shall not be undertaken. And staff found that this property is recognized as a physical record of its time, and found that the mural will not create a false sense of historical development, especially because there's no features. There's no cornices or architectural elements so much on these two building faces, as you can see from the existing photos. Moving along here. So there's no changes to the historical significance. So it's they've met this criterion. Distinctive features, finishes, and construction techniques or examples of craftsmanship that characterize the property shall be preserved. And staff found that this proposal does not seek to alter any of the above. So all these distinctive features that people love with the Civic are going to be maintained with this proposal. Kind of piggybacking on that, this proposal does not seek to remove or replace any of the deteriorating features. So all the historic features and finishes will remain the same, therefore meeting this requirement. So chemical or physical treatments such as sandblasting, they cause damage to historic materials, cannot be used as defined in our code. And the applicant is not proposing any chemical or physical treatment. So any planned cleanings prior to the paintings of the murals will be required to meet the standards set forth by the Secretary of Interior. And staff did include that as a condition of approval. Another criterion is that significant architectural resources affected by a project shall be protected and preserved. So there's no excavation or ground disturbance indicated in this application. So this criterion doesn't really apply. New additions and adjacent or related new construction shall be undertaken in a manner that, if removed in the future, the essential form and integrity of the historic property and its environment would be unimpaired. So this form is going to be maintained and protected with the mural project. So there are no plans to remove any historical material, only paint with the mural on the existing painted north and west facing parking lot walls of the building. So this criterion kind of talks about exterior alterations. So exterior alterations to the historic structure will be required to follow all the historic design guidelines for this district. The murals will be required to be compatible in massing and size for the project. So as you could see in the existing photos, that green outline, staff thought that it was out of sync with the sizing and mass. So we recommended, or staff recommends, that the murals should be resized to be compatible with the existing horizontal features that differentiate the existing building floors. And that's addressed in a condition of approval. But what that finding means is what we're suggesting is that the mural should start above the first floor, so at least 12 feet off. And I'll show you a picture of what that looks like in the upcoming slides. And so the last criterion here that we look at is for signs and murals. So I shortened some of the criterion down so I don't need to read that massive block that's in the staff report, but two guidelines that are applicable that we need to look at is wall signs, window signs, canopy, and projecting signs attached to the building should be compatible in scale without obscuring architectural features, and that murals are not recommended on primary, secondary, and historic buildings as they lessen the integrity of the architecture and damage the building surface. So this building is nationally registered property located in the Dallas Commercial Historic District. However, the brick has been previously painted and no exposed brick remains to be protected by these guidelines. So staff has found that the request to paint the murals on the existing painted face of the building doesn't lessen that integrity of this structure or this building. And with the adjusted mural size, staff feels that this is more compatible with the mass and it does not obscure architectural features. This is going to be also addressed as a condition of approval, as mentioned before. So this is a photo of staff recommendations. So as you can see, the green line is where the original proposed mural area would be. And then the red square is about, it's not to scale, but it's about 12 feet off the ground. And that's our recommendation going above the first floor. And then for the other building face, it'd be 50 by 38. So again, going up 12 feet to accommodate for that first floor recommendation. So we are left with 5 conditions of approval. So the murals, these are, the proposed conditions of approval, staff proposed conditions of approval. So the murals shall be completed in substantial conformance to the proposal as submitted in the application to HLC 205-22, reviewed by the Historic Landmarks Commission today with the following alterations. So this is, mural shall be resized to start above the first floor, a minimum of 12 feet from the ground, to be compatible with existing horizontal features that differentiate the building floors. So we want to make sure that chemical or physical treatments such as sandblasting that cause damage to historic materials shall not be used. The surface cleaning of the structure, if appropriate, shall be undertaken using the gentlest means possible. And care needs to be taken with painting. The applicant shall obtain a sign permit approved by the Community Development Department prior to installation or painting of murals. This is consistent with the rest of the murals that have been proposed. The applicant shall apply for a street closure permit with the City of the Dallas Public Works Department once the murals are ready to be installed at the subject location. So that makes sure that pedestrians can get around safely, and if part or some of the sidewalk needs to be closed, traffic can mitigate that safely. Okay. So that concludes the staff report. So then the commission has a couple options here for motions. So the first one is you can follow staff's recommendation to move. So you can, wait, do I read these? Okay. So you can move to approve this application. HLC 20, okay. So you can move to approve this application with the 5 proposed conditions of approval based on the findings of the fact detailed in the staff report. You could move to approve the application with modified conditions of approval based on the findings of the fact detailed in the staff report, or you could move to decline this application. And you can ask questions if you would like to.
Are there 5 conditions of approval? I thought I only saw 4.
There's a 1A. It's kind of
Oh,
hiding
okay.
underneath
I
there.
see.
So I
Okay.
counted 5.
All right, tricky.
I have a question on the actual physical application itself on page 29 of our packet. At the bottom, it says to the side of like John's signature, it says for the property owner, it says see signed attached property ownership agreement, but I don't seem to have that in my packet. So I just wanted to make sure that actually exists before we go ahead with this.
Chair Ercole, it's Paula. It is there, but just based on size constraints, we typically leave the agreements out, but there is an agreement in place. And I'm
Thank you,
happy
Paula.
to forward that to you if you would like to see a copy of it.
No, I just wanted to make sure that that was actually there, not just, overlooked. So thank you, Paula.
You.
All right, we've had the staff report. John, are you gonna tell us about this, or have you already talked about it as much as you want?
I can if you'd like me to. I will. So my name is, are you ready for me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is John Lehman. I work for Meadow Outdoor and representing the Wall Dogs murals today. My address mailing is P.O. Box 331, The Dalles, 97058. So I'll try to keep this brief. I think the main thrust of this is, of course, just painting historic wall murals on the Civic, on the 2 walls. the north, and the west. Nothing changes architecturally, as Caitlin mentioned. The only change is a historic mural about important people, places, and things in our community and in this area. The smooth walls on the north face facing the alley and the west facing the parking lot lend themselves very nicely to these historic wall murals to be done by the Wall Dogs painting group. The dimensions that were shown in my application by the green lines. Yes. Were basically the maximum areas that could possibly be used by the artists that are designing these to be painted. I don't think it's even physically or financially feasible for these areas to be completely filled in with wall murals. I've talked with Pete McKernan, the head or the chief of the Mural Wall Dogs Festival, and he thinks it would be too expensive to try to fill in and design something that would cover these dimensions, either both on the west face here as shown and on the north face, which has that little blip coming down. But if you look at this picture, the only thing I'm concerned about with the constraints is the artist's license to be creative and use the space how they want to depict the importance of the subject that they're putting together on the wall. I would hate to limit them to a rectangular area or a specific area that would cut out an idea that might really lend itself to the grandeur and the historic beauty of the possible creation that they could come up with. And in this situation, I could see it's a big area. It's not overwhelming for the size of the Civic. It's a kind of a small portion, I would say, but it is a large mural area. But I could see, and you can't see me pointing at it, but on the right, see my finger, I'm pointing at my screen. I could see the artist coming up with a person standing 60 foot tall and then only using 15 or 10 foot by 45 foot or 10 foot by 20 foot in the upper left that this person is showing. I've seen some examples created. I think there's a photographer that is represented in one of the murals. I think Pinchot is his name. And I saw a rendition that was tentatively put together to show what it could look like. Picture of the photographer on the one side, which would lend itself to this one perfectly. And then a small section up and to the left that showed his work, or I think it showed a scenic view of a mountain or of a forest or something, or a lake. I can't remember which, but that's the kind of creativity I would hate to hamper or rein in, and keep that creativity flowing from these artists who are, putting their heart and soul into it to come up with something that is just the most beautiful creation for the Dalles Mural Festival. Now so that's this side. If you look back at the west side, thank you. I can see that being minimized anyway because of, you see the cars parking in front of the square, which would block. I mean, I think those cars are there quite often, daily. It would block that area if it was painted that low. So I could see it already. And in fact, I've talked to Pete that it would go up above maybe the light pole there, the light bulb on the post. then again, we've got a 50-foot area. What will the artist do for that area? Do we rein them into a certain size and say, this is all you can have? And then that could discount an idea. So I would ask you to think about that. I would hate to just mess up one of their creative, beautiful murals because we've limited them. And that's all I've got to say on that. Absolutely no sandblasting will be made. And in the case of the Civic, they've just recently repaired these two walls and painted them with a polymer material that seals the wall and reprotects the existing wall as it is. And then they've painted over the top of that with a Sherwin-Williams paint. So it is already painted. And the color, I think I put in my narrative that it's a light tan, because I wasn't aware when I was putting this together that they were in the midst of repairing these two walls. The actual color is a Sherwin-Williams paint that is called crushed ice. And I think I took these pictures before that was done. And I've seen the walls, they look beautiful. So there may not be much cleaning that needs to be done to them anyway, because they are so newly refurbished and look beautiful.
May I ask a question?
How long do I have? I'll keep going. You don't need to answer that. I see nobody's stopping me, so. Again, these two walls are perfect walls, I believe, for historic wall murals in the Dalles. They can tell a large story like this one, the foods of our area, the indigenous foods, the fish, the grains, and those things will be depicted on here. There can be little patches showing the different, and I'm not saying that's how it's going to be designed, but there's a big area where they can spread out the different items that make up the food that has been produced and consumed and kept the people in our area alive for years and years. It's a nice wall for that. On the other wall, the Honnold painting, it has a lot of potential, and it lends itself to what I mentioned, like a full length person, Gary Honnold or his father, Barney. I could see them shown there painting, doing one of their artistic pieces. It just has a lot of potential in that whole area. Not that it's all going to be used, but again, having that whole area gives the artist a lot of creativity. These back walls also lend themselves to this project because they aren't on the major streets in the Dalles. They're back alleys, they're parking lot. People have to walk and search these out. And in 3A, it talks about creating a pedestrian-friendly environment and making the downtown, the Dalles, an inhabitable place that is pleasant for walking. These will be great for that. People will have to walk from wherever to get to these. You can't enjoy it from the car necessarily because you're sitting in the alley looking up at a wall right next to you. You're parked up against it doing the same. It's going to be something to be enjoyed and sought out by the pedestrians visiting and that live here locally. I think that's all I have. I turned in the application with the pictures. You've seen what the Wall Dogs do. We've talked about that a number of times. I hope I'm not too familiar of a face here, but I know I've been in a number of meetings with you all, and I've really enjoyed it. And I thank you for the time today, and I hope that you will approve this application. Thank you.
Thank you, John. you've done a wonderful presentation here this afternoon.
Well, thank you.
At this point, we're looking for somebody that might be opposed to this, which I don't hear, I don't see. So don't run away, John, because while we're still in the public hearing aspect here, we're gonna bend the rule just a little bit and have someone that's sitting here with us, commissioners, and very well qualified. She would like to ask you a question. I've contained her this long, but how long I
I understood you could ask as you went along. The question was, is this the only mural that's, what is the 12-foot above the ground for? That was really a question for Caitlin.
Yeah, so the 12-foot, so I'm going to just pull it up on the screen here. So the adjustment to have it be 12 feet above the ground was to match the scale and the horizontal features. So as you can see, oh no, sorry about that. Okay, as you can see, next to where about this 12-foot adjustment would be is above, these doors, be above cars, and kind of match that overall scaling. That was staff's attempt to try to match that scale.
So it didn't have anything to do with potential vandalism or anything like that?
No, it did not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay.
That's probably a good thing too.
Yeah. I just couldn't remember how the others, whether that 12-foot level had been there with the others. It didn't seem.
No, it really has to do with the overall size of the building.
Is this a bigger scale? I mean, if one was 50 by 50 and the 45, it's larger than the other murals that have been presented. So that scaling it back makes it,
This is definitely one of the largest ones, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Lehman, but that's my understanding that this is the largest one in terms of proposed area.
I believe it might be, yes.
Yeah.
John, just for curiosity, you piecemeal this so much in my mind that I've lost track. Is there a master sheet of all the ones that, I guess mainly that we have okayed the commission? And I understand there will be other murals that didn't have to come before the landmark commission. I don't know when the hype will start for our community here, but there's gonna be a lot of talk about the volume that we're gonna do. And I just kind of sneaky, I'd like to have some kind of an idea before somebody tells me. I'd like to know how many we've got coming up before somebody told me, are you guys out of your mind? Or something of that nature, to that a volume of, so someday, not crucial, just someday, that would be nice to have, don't you think?
I think there's 13 or 14 murals, isn't that?
No.
Yeah, we do have a list available, and I actually can pull it up now. I believe there is upwards of 25.
Well, there you go.
Not all of them have come before HLC. So some of them have just been approved ministerially through the planning department. I have recently looked and approved all of them. So that was quite a project.
This is going to undoubtedly percolate down who gave all these permissions out. And I'm not afraid I can stand up in front of everybody and defend what we've done. But it would just for curiosity's sake, how many we have approved, and so that we can say, well, and then of course, like you say, there will be some that we haven't approved. We have no knowledge of where they're gone or going, I should say, or anything of that nature. I don't anyhow.
Oh, so in their applications, they've shown where they'll be located and the proposed theme for that mural. And similar to this application, showing which building face it will be on. So they have turned in that information.
People are going to be kind of inclined to give us credit for the whole thing. And I don't want that, but I'm just saying that they won't really be able to distinguish between which one was on an historic building and which one is not historic. they don't do it now, and I don't know why they would become first enough to drive down the street and say that one's historic and that one isn't, so on and so forth. Okay, is there anyone here that has more questions to ask of John? Or even our staff? And if there isn't, then we'll close the public hearing. I'll get to bang the gavel and we can close the public hearing. And even you will be left out, I'm sure. Sorry.
But may I be excused? I have that other meeting.
You may be excused.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
It's nice. Thanks for the
That'll
name.
work out just fine.
Okay.
I had a question.
Yeah,
For John. I know there's the two locations, the one on the parking lot and then the one in the alley. The one in the parking lot is kind of square right now, 50 by 50, and the staff proposal was 50 by 30-ish, 50 by 48,
45 by
45.
45 by
Oh, 45 by
48,
40.
and then there was 50 by 38.
Yeah, 50 by 38. So I know you had talked about the possibility of needing that irregular space on the alley side, but do you think you'd need that lower part on the parking lot side? Because I do take staff's recommendation that it does look a little bit better if it kind of lines up with the break in the stories that you can see at that location. It's not so much of an issue on the other side because there's kind of a break there that you can't really, there's a little bit, but I don't see that as much of an issue on the alley side. So if you had your preferences and could have one full size and one broken down smaller, would it be that you'd keep the alley size as you proposed and the parking lot size a reduced size? Would that be something that would be feasible?
I think anything is feasible as far as just the ability to put a mural up there is such a great thing to have happening here. But I just look at both of those just with, I don't know what the artist is going to come up with. And I mean, if it could be, I mean, these guys are so creative and come up with such beautiful paintings and artwork. I just would hate to limit them if they have a vision, because these guys have started looking at these. I mean, they've been looking at them for a long time. The artists, team leaders have been assigned walls and themes, as I understand. And so they're thinking about this and putting things together. I just hate to limit them. I mean, it makes sense if you look at the parking lot area again. Thanks, Caitlin. It does make sense, like I mentioned, to be above that light head, like Caitlin has it shown here. But if for some reason the elements that are going up there don't lend themselves to that exact shape, or they need to be spread out more, or they need to drop below the line in a couple of places or even one, I just hate to limit them on that creative license that they should have. So yes, it's possible and may not hurt to raise it on this one, but I just hate to limit them. That's all I'm thinking on those. I hope I answered your question.
You did, thanks.
Okay.
I'm a little confused as far as, wasn't there a comment on it being so large, both being so large that it was almost too expensive to do them that big, and now all of a sudden we're almost arguing to scale them, not to take any of the space away for their creative side. So I'm not, it's kind of confusing to me. Is it seems like the artist would be able to do any size, and it's still one of the biggest canvases for them, you know, with that a little tweaking that the staff proposed. So I'm a little confused. I think I don't think that would be a huge problem, so I'm saying, with taking that short bit that goes down to the ground. I think that it's fine just to make it into a rectangle. I don't think that would, or a square. I don't know. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? It was almost like from two sides. Right at the beginning, they were
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
saying that it was almost $2,000, too much paint to cover it, it cost too much. I was hearing that. So I'm all for the murals. I think they're just such a fantastic thing. Don't get me wrong. I think it's exciting, but yeah, just too long a comment for a small.
Forrest, I've left you out of this conversation again. I can't quite focus my mind in covering two areas. Have you got anything that you want to say before we close the public hearing?
Not before we close the public hearing. I think I've got all the information I need, and I appreciate all the work that staff and John has done. This is great.
Thank you. Well, I didn't get the idea that we've got to choose the size. Is that what, am I hearing that right, staff?
The staff proposed scaling it back that little bit. I'm for that. I think it's a good suggestion.
Well, I just wanted myself, I guess, understand that we can't just buy what we're looking at. We've got to judge the size that is going to be appropriate here. And that will be in our conditions of recommendation for approval. So that's all I'm asking before we close the public hearing. The public hearing is now closed and we will deliberate amongst the commission members. We might call on staff a little bit for help, but we're supposed to be big and strong and be able to understand what we're doing. So this is working out real good. The commission alternatives, if we go along, Forrest, I know we get to see a copy of the same thing. I'm not gonna keep my neck, just look to see what Forrest is seeing. But there's applications here. I don't see the one there that modified.
Number 2, that's
Oh.
with modified conditions
Okay.
of approval that Caitlin.
Based on the fact and finding of the staff report. So you're saying that the monkey on the staff then.
So with my opinion is I don't like what staff has recommended. I prefer the mural be bigger and brighter and have the option to be bigger if they need to go that way. Because right across the street is the ice cream parlor. And as a little kid wanting to see a big, beautiful painting that happens to be a tree or someone standing, but that was restricted and now into a little rectangle. I would prefer to have them have the flexibility of the full size of the mural that they applied for, and then just see what the artist comes up with after that.
So just the one course that comes down just in that one little piece that.
I wouldn't restrict the size on any of them, on the north side or the west side, because I just think that the artist can, maybe on the west side, the artist wants something very narrow and tall, and they won't even use half of it going lengthwise. So I just think that we should allow them to have the application as they applied for, and then we'll see what the artist comes up with. And it probably won't take up that whole space because, as John said, that is a big space to cover with paint. So the artist probably won't cover that entire wall.
You mean it'll just be painted with background and then the mural will be smaller? I don't understand. If the artist isn't going to cover the whole wall, why do we want to?
I think they just don't want to confine them to a certain spot. on
So
that
their
wall.
subject matter will be,
Yeah,
they have the
Can
option.
be more fluid
Okay,
across the whole
all right,
area.
so that makes sense.
Nobody else?
We're still deliberating.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I can see things both ways, right? I can see that you wouldn't really want to paint it so close to the ground that you have problems with vandalism, or it's periodically obscured by parked cars and things like that. But I'm sure the artists and the wall dogs are probably taking those kind of things into consideration as well, so. I guess I'd kind of, maybe with Forest on this, that gives them that kind of artistic license to work within that space. But maybe with some kind of caveat that it would be nice if they kept it within the higher range of both the proposed things, but not that it's a requirement.
Also, sorry, I don't mean to cut in. Were you done, Eric?
Yeah, I'm done.
On the west side too, I don't think that picture really did justice, because if I am not mistaken, there's a walkway on the west hand side that separates the parking lot from the building, and it goes down at a sloped angle. So, oh, actually on the north side picture, you can kind of see it a little bit, I think. Go back to that picture. Yeah, on the right hand side, you can kind of see how there's a little walkway that slopes down that separates the parking lot from the actual wall itself. So it will actually be a little bit higher, I think, than the ground, but that's just the immediate ground right in front of it, not to the parking lot where everyone would be seeing it from. If vandalism was an issue, I don't know how big of an issue vandalism would be or is around here.
It hasn't historically been too much of a problem on the murals, so that's been good. As far as I know.
Are you confident that you are be able to communicate, that you can tell us what we're gonna vote on?
I think I can if those conditions of approval get stuck back up there, I can read the correct one. Or,
Sorry, do you want to see the proposed conditions of approval or the alternative motions?
so the alternative motions. So the first one would be the restriction of the sizes. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And the second one is as proposed by the proponent without the restricted sizes, but with the other conditions?
Yes, so it'd be, if I'm understanding what you all would like, it would be removing, so the mural resizing, so subsection 1A here, removing that and just putting a period after reviewed by Historic Landmarks Commission on May 25th. So the first one would read, murals shall be completed in substantial conformance to the proposal as submitted in application HLC 205, reviewed by the Historic Landmarks Commission on May 25th, 2022, and then just full stop. So there would be no following alterations.
So it's exactly as the first picture before it's been shrunk.
There would be no restraints.
Well, we got to, I don't, in my history here, sitting here or being there, I don't hear we have multiple choice on our motion. Our motion has got to be one or the other.
Yep, I think so.
So,
For number 2.
Okay.
well, now we're getting headway. Now we're making headway. We got it down, something to vote on anyhow. That's what we really need right now, is something that we can.
Okay,
I agree.
I'll try and make a motion then.
Okay,
I'll move to approve HLC application number 205-22 of the Dalles Main Street and Wall Dogs with the modified conditions of approval based on the findings of fact detailed in the staff report. And this would include the 4 conditions of approval, with condition 1 being modified to reflect the original mural area proposed by the proponents. Does that sound reasonable?
we're back
Commissioner
now.
Gleason, you're asking to remove 1A,
Yes.
correct?
Yep.
I'll second that.
So I think that's with all the conditions of approval, but we've removed the one that restricted them to the size.
So they're going to be the jumbo size.
Yeah,
Am I the only one?
No.
agreed with the staff, I agreed with the staff.
Oh, okay, well then you won't want a second. I've been so anxious to keep you making
I'm so
seconds.
good at it too.
Uh,
But
that's what I was
no,
asking.
it's not a mountain I want to die on. I just thought I had a double impression that they were saying it's way too big and now everyone wants it way too big, like you can't afford it. You know, and it's bigger than all the other ones. I don't understand why if all of a sudden they need that extra space for the creativity because they're so good. I think they'd be very creative on the one that's just slightly scaled down.
I read that specification just a little different. It said that the mural cannot be so overpowering that it is distracting from looking at the building. And I want to take it that way rather than worry about the overall size of it. That's the reason I thought they kind of chopped that sucker where they did.
But it's at the back and the side, so that they've chose really good walls. I mean, they
Yeah.
always do. They do a fantastic job.
But if you look at one that is really overpowering, and if we had no votes on it or anything, is the one over on First Street. It's a wonderful long mural, runs around the corner and keeps right on going. Might still be going. I haven't looked lately, so he's still painting on it, but it is takes away from the building completely. It doesn't leave any of the building to imagine that there is a building there. And that's the way I interpreted that. I see you glancing at your reading of it. And so that's why I've been looking at why they scaled it down so they didn't cover the whole wall.
That's a really good.
Well,
Cheer. That's a good. That's a good.
now, just because my cocktail hour is getting way, I'm waiting for that second, girl.
So the second is still approving is number one.
Right.
Excuse me, Forrest, or Commissioner Ercole seconded the motion.
Oh, so I don't need a second.
Either vote
Oh.
or make a new motion.
Is it been seconded then, so we
It
can
has.
call for a vote?
Yes.
So we could either call for the vote or she said we could also make
All right,
another motion.
okay, I've heard that rumor. All right, is there any further discussion than necessary? Or can we vote on it? Vote.
So can I reiterate? I'm sorry. The motion now is to approve with no restriction on size. So if you vote in favor of that, you'll be giving them license to go big or.
They should have the
So can
restriction
I-
on size of the original application.
Pardon?
They should have their size restricted by what they originally applied for, which was they shouldn't be like unlimited space. It's 45 by 60 and 50 by 50.
That's correct. So it would either be approving what's been proposed by the applicant or, wanting them to size down their mural space, so staff recommendation is number one, and number two would be for the applicant to utilize the full space that was originally proposed.
What do you guys think? I mean, I could go either way.
I'm for taking it slightly down. It's still gonna be the biggest two of the whole deal, not counting some of those original ones that are kind of, fading out now. Those are whoppers. And they're doing everything so well. I think they're such artists. I don't think it's gonna be a deal breaker for their mural. I'm not anti-art. I'm not anti-mural. I love the murals. In fact, Ben Snipes is my favorite mural coming up.
But again, when we're
I am
giving
for
them
it.
the freedom to do the size of a painting, they're not necessarily going to use the whole thing. It's just they have the ability to use it if they desire. But like John said, it's very unlikely that they would use that entire space. It's just that they have the freedom to use that space if they desire.
Well, maybe that's why I'm confused. So they may scale it down themselves. Is that what you're saying, John? Or,
That's correct. That's my interpretation because the artist doesn't know what they're going to draw yet. Maybe on the north wall, they'll just have a person standing along the tall part or a tree or something, and then the rest of the space won't be used, but they have the freedom to use that whole space. It's just very unlikely that they will because of the cost of paint.
But there is that possibility.
Exactly. There is that possibility. You
Then
have
you
that
could
artist that's
also-
like, this is going to be amazing.
You know, make it really big and it could be blocked by the cars and that whole thing as well.
You trying to withdraw your motion or reword it? I wasn't sure what you were trying to do there a minute ago, Eric.
I guess, I guess I was just trying to think of some kind of consensus motion. But it seems like we have basically the two options is the full size or the limited size. And I can see advantages to both. I also am kind of leaning towards the limited size just because I kind of like the idea of sticking within the smaller footprint, which represents the kind of the architecture of the building as far as floors and stuff like that, like the staff recommendation goes. But then I also am a little torn about artistic freedom as well. So
Yeah, everything they've done has been fantastic. So I think they'll still blow our minds with what they do, using that little corner thing for extra height. And I think staff have really put some good thought into their reason for modifying it. That makes sense. I don't want to offend any artists in the process of making this.
I think when they're in here, they aren't gonna have time for offending. They got so much painting to do. I think you're gonna be awful busy. So we can still just call for a consent to vote now, and we know what we're voted for.
right. So could I modify my motion or do we need to vote on the motion?
Make a new
that's already
motion.
On the floor.
Make a new motion.
That's what I was kind of quizzing back, because the parliamentary thing says that you'll have to have the person that seconded withdraw their second. And then you can go back and modify your motion. And that's what we're trying to figure out, who did second. Oh, you're gonna test me on that?
I think Forrest beat me to that one.
Yeah.
Okay,
So Forrest, do you think that we should vote on this motion or should we modify it some?
I mean, I would personally like to vote on it as is, but it sounds like the rest of the commission is leaning the other way, so I'll go with the commission.
Okay, so I'll try and draft another motion. I'll go with alternative one, move to approve application HLC number 250
That's what you just said.
oh, pardon me.
205, pardon me.
Which,
Oh.
You're right, number
oh,
two
okay.
is when you did-
Okay.
you did number one,
Do I want to do number one or number two?
number two.
If you want a smaller size, you need to go with number one.
Right.
No, I made a
guess
typo
there's
in
just
the
a
first
typo
one.
in there,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
It's supposed to say 205, not
They're doing an
250.
excellent job of covering that, and we're proud of
I
her,
see that.
because
Okay.
we're all human.
Oh, I
Oh.
got it muddled.
So I guess I'll make the motion that staff recommendation motion, move to approve application HLC 205-22 or the Dallas Main Street and Wall Dogs with 5 proposed conditions of approval based on findings of fact detailed in the staff report. And then I was wondering if I could add
Certainly,
a 6th condition
yeah.
that staff would have the ability to approve a mural to the original proposed size if mural was consistent with oh God. This is not sounding like a good.
No, the paint's gonna get dry here before long.
Yeah, maybe we should just go with the straight number one.
Okay, with the correction of
Yeah.
205.
Yeah, and the 5 proposed conditions, including 1A.
Fourth one, a second. No?
This is this.
Mhm.
Okay, I'll second it. Sorry, Forrest.
Now, the next problem is we gotta vote on it, and we're gonna have 3, I think, votes.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna call you by roll call in a sense. Eric, for in favor, Eric,
Aye.
Forrest?
Aye.
No? He said,
He said aye, yeah.
very good, Forrest. Bev?
Aye.
Bob, aye. This motion now has been passed. And while we're right in the mood, and I'm confused, how much work have we got to do with the resolution, Paula?
I'll prepare a new one for your signature tomorrow. Yes.
I'm trying
Chairman
to figure
Neary.
out if we changed anything on the resolution that we can't approve the one that's typed up.
Correct. I'll fix it. I'll rewrite it and have it ready for your signature tomorrow. You can approve it as modified.
That's what I wanted, okay? Well, do that.
I have a question. This is resolution 205-22, but that's not our resolution number. Shouldn't it be 193-22?
Oops, I can fix that also.
Oh, sorry, I thought it was the same.
No, it's not the same. It's separate.
Oh.
It's, as you see on your agenda, the resolution number is 193-22. So it's reflected on the agenda.
Okay, I hadn't read it that close. That one I didn't.
Does that mean we need to start over and I can still show a picture that I just found?
Your testimony.
I can try. I've got it right here on my computer. If anybody
That
wants.
was a good try, though.
Nice try.
I guess I'll make the motion that we approve HLC resolution number 193-22
That's modified.
as modified.
I'll second.
I stretched you out as best I can. This is the past resolution 193-22, modified. All in favor, raise your right hand.
Aye.
Opposed, raise something. We don't have anybody opposed. The resolution has been passed. Now I'll get back to the front page where I have an agenda. The agenda has a word adjournment. Is there anyone that has any comment to cover this meeting that they would like to make at this time before we go home? You did wonderful. I want you to know you did wonderful.
I'll work to get everything ironed out next time.
I
always forget that those resolution numbers isn't
I'm very lucky to have Paula
Yeah.
helping me through this. Seriously, it's such a help.
I don't know how much you've dreaded today, but I have looked forward to today because what we've done today will set the tone for years to come. You sit there in your little chair for the next 5 years. You can say, "Well, I had fun at the first meeting I conducted."
True.
The hair will match mine and Paula's.
I hear no one is objecting to it, so let's go home.
I'm for that.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Thanks, Caitlin, for all your hard work.
Thanks. Pleasure working with you, John.
Yeah, you too. We'll see you.
Yeah.
Forrest, come back and see us sometime in person.
I plan on it. That's what my next idea is. I'm going to come to the next meeting in person so I can see all your beautiful faces.
Woohoo.